Hi, welcome to Season 8 of the Create Better podcast. It's time to create better family, health, business, and self.
Welcome to Elaine's Kitchen Table. This is where we share tips about business and parenting. Being a mom of three, CEO of the award-winning company Easy Daisy's speaker and educator, you're going to learn the tips and secrets of successful and incredible people. Elaine wants you to be inspired, challenged, and motivated, and that person you want your kids to grow up to be. This is Real Talk for Real Life.
Hi, welcome to Elaine's Kitchen Table, where we talk about how to create better family, how to create better health, how to create better business, and better self. This is an episode that you do not want to miss if you want to have a better relationship with your money. That's right, with your money. So whether you are a small business owner or the person in charge of the money in your household, or you just want to teach your kids how to have a better relationship with money, you do not want to miss this episode. I am just so thrilled to have the guest that is on my show today. I have not seen her in forever, but thank God for technology, because this beautiful woman is sitting across from me right now. And Lou is so many brilliant things. And I'm going to just say it, that she's an intuitive CFO. What is that? We're just going to talk about that in a moment, because if you have a small business and you want to know how to grow your money, your cash flow, you do not want to miss this episode. I want to say welcome, Lou. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. And thank you, Elaine, for having me. I'm really excited. It's been way too long that we have physically even seen each other like this.
I know. I'm going to ask you to hold up your mug of tea, and we're going to toast right now, toasting. I wish we could be at the same table. Now, Lou, this is not your first time on my podcast. In fact, when I first started my podcast, I think 5 years ago, we were in your minivan driving from London, Ontario to Toronto. And we're like, let's record a podcast. And I love it. I love memories like that. And so I love having you back on. And I know that before I called you Sarah. So we're going to touch on that, because I personally want to say welcome to our listeners. Always so honored to have you joining us. And I'm just excited for our time together. And I want to just jump right into it. And I want to ask Lou, tell us a little bit about you, your story, your beautiful family with a graduate this year, and the cutest puppies ever. So much to tell. But basically, I want to know, how did you get to the point that you are right now? Earlier, I mentioned in your intro that you went from being $3 away from bankruptcy, $3 to becoming a millionaire.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. There's like so many questions to ask. Like, this brilliant woman and her incredible husband, Roger, they have a piggy bank system that helped them get to this point. Crazy. She's pointing to the piggy bank behind her. Crazy. I want to know. I'm going to go get some piggy banks. I really want to know. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. Lou, tell us about you.
Well, thank you, Elaine, for having me on. And I'm so excited to connect with your listeners. And first, let me start off by saying that I'm so honored to be here and happy that I'm here with you. And your podcast is so cool. Like, the stuff that you, look at me, I'm like tearing up. The stuff that you share, the guests that you have, like, it's a podcast that if someone's not listening to it, they need to start tuning in soon as you put out episodes, because honestly, you don't just focus on one thing. We talk about making life better. And I think that is so neat. So thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you.
And I mean, where do we begin? So, I was born Sarah Louise. And in December of 2020, after I had two massive adjustments in my personal life, I decided, you know what? I've always felt that the warrior inside of me was Louise, or Lou. Wow. And so I looked at my husband just around Christmas-ish, and I said, Raj, what do you think about me changing my name? He's like, to what? I said, well, just swapping them. So it'd be Louise Sarah. And he's like, well, just whatever you want, like do whatever you want, that type of thing. And so just to tell you about a little bit about the name part. It was New Year's Eve and I'm like, I'm filling out these papers. I'm going to start the year off right. Well, I got the papers filled out, but people would not believe how many hoops you have to jump through to change your name, to the point that Roger, my husband, he actually has to write a letter that he approves of my name change. I have to get a police check. I have to have like this sworn, like, I don't even know what it's called. Like, I have to explain that it's not because I've done something illegal. I have to have a judge sign off on it. Like, it's a thing. Wow. So hopefully by the end of this year, it will be legal where all of my cards and my banking will all say Lou. But to be honest, that part really came from a place where even back in grade school, when we have too many Sarahs in the class, they'd call me Lou. And so it feels right. And it's time to step into who I truly am, because I feel like for the last 8 to 10 years, I've just been hiding behind something or someone. And it was just time to own it. So
like coming out of a cocoon, like you're this new butterfly.
Yeah.
And Lou, did you look up the name? Like, does it mean?
It means warrior.
It does mean warrior.
Yeah, it does. So my name was always Princess Warrior. So it's a good name. And Lou is coming from Louise, which is also my grandmother's name on my dad's side. So he was beyond ecstatic. But if we rewind even years before that, I remember I got married when I was 20 in 2001. And then we had kids in, oh my goodness, we had kids in 2002, 4, 6, and 9. And
that's
when we were
4 boys, 4 boys, people.
Oh, I'm so happy with my 4 boys. I love being the only girl. But so everybody knows when you get married, life is kind of hard, right? Like you're in the honeymoon stage and you're loving each other and not realizing, like, no one teaches us about money. No one teaches us really about finances. People give you money for your wedding and like, okay, there you go. And then you're like, what, how do I pay my bills? And I have a credit card and like, it was just crazy. And we ended up living more life than we could afford. And so by the time 2006 came around, we had our 3rd child and we lived in a larger home. And I decided that just before Isaac was born, I had actually a client that was paying me about $5,000 a month in our business.
Wow.
Fire me.
Oh,
because I was pregnant with baby number 3.
Oh boy.
And people are like, human rights or whatever, right? Employment rights. I'm like, I wasn't an employee. I was a contractor. That's part of the deal. And that left us, I mean, we were already bad. We already refinanced the house a couple times. Like, and then it was like, what are we going to do? And so we ended up having Isaac, our 3rd child. And I remember like sitting on the floor bawling. I remember wondering how we were going to pay for milk. And here I am, by the way, I have been a bookkeeper in my own, like I have a bookkeeping business where I'm helping other business owners like understand their financial statements. I'm a bookkeeper and I'm going to declare bankruptcy.
Wow.
Like it doesn't even make sense because I did have the knowledge and the understanding, but I didn't know how to apply it to my own life. And so I remember while we were pregnant with Isaac, we were late for an appointment. And I said to my husband, like, we can't feed the other 2 boys breakfast. And we got to go. We'll stop at the coffee shop. And when we stopped at the coffee shop, I love telling this story, but I hate telling this story because it just brings up so much emotion because I'm in that moment now. Right. Absolutely. But I remember sitting in the car in the coffee shop and I said, we'll get them breakfast here. And all we had was what was in our pocket was $3. All the other money was accounted for. Like we had no money and we lived less than paycheck to paycheck, but we had $3. And I thought, well, okay, we have $3. What can we get them? And they split a juice and a muffin. And I remember looking at Roger and I was saying, is this how we're supposed to live? Like, especially being godly people, like, is this how we've been called to live? Is this what we've been destined to? Is this it? Because this sucks. Like, this sucks. And I have to tell you, we went and we understood, we started learning about money. We started we put numbers in a computer, we print out financial statements. We say, people, here's your income, here's your expenses, here's what you're paying tax on. But we started to understand that money is like another human in your family. You have to build a relationship with your money. And so even now when I work with some of my clients, I'm like, if your relationship with money was where the money was a child,
wow,
that you have to raise, what state would your child be in? And a lot of them are like,
wow,
I think I buried them.
That's a great analogy, Lou. I've never heard someone compare viewing your finances, your money, like a child, a member in the family. Because you should be checking in every day. If that is your child, you should know where your child is, or at, or going to. Like, you need to maybe even have that future plan for your child, right? Like, need to know. I love that analogy. Love it.
And that's what we did. We started to learn, okay, this is going to be, now we have 4 kids, but our money is now going to be in our relationship. It's going to be a child. We are going to nourish it. We're going to give it the best care. We're going to put it in places it can grow and succeed, where it can be nourished. Right. And when you look at your money that way, it's kind of like, do we just want to buy everything and anything? Do we care what's on our credit card? And I'm not saying you get to the point where you're so analytical that you're on your bank account 24/7, but it's got to come from a place where you have to nourish this. It's a relationship.
Yes. And be healthy, right?
Yeah. And Kevin O'Leary, who you know well, he is one of my, I call them my online mentors, someone I look up to, but doesn't really know who I am. I remember him saying, there's 3 people in a marriage: the husband, the wife, or the partners, right? The partners, the spouses, and money. He's like, marriage is a 3-way thing. And it makes so much sense. And now it's interesting because for Roger and I, in our personal finance and business, because we actually are in business together, we're partners in our company. We still are bookkeeping. We're doing CFO work. We're doing so much more now. But I am like the CFO of our company, it's so much like a business, our family. I am CFO of our family, and he's like the CEO. So even I was doing up our numbers last night on the couch. I'm like, hey, check it out. He's like, oh, that looks really good. I'm like, yeah, right. And here's where we're at. Here's where we're going. He's like, okay, 5-minute conversation because of the systems that we've created.
Beautiful.
So going from
you should make spousal workshops. Maybe you already have spousal workshops.
Yeah, you have to talk to the man behind the camera right now, because he can hear you.
Right, Roger?
So you know. So just for those who are listening, I'm sitting in my YouTube studio. So Roger does all my tech. We are a partnership. Everything we do is a partnership. But if we jump back to the $3 from bankruptcy, we started learning about money, and we started to understand our intuition and understanding that really, if I want to purchase something, or if I want to sell something, if it's not a full body yes, we don't do it. So even right now, we're looking at a new vehicle. And I said to him, I'm not feeling it fully. Let's not make a move until we both fully feel it. It has to be a yes, not because we want to, not because we have to or we need to, but it's a feeling of it being the right time. And so I believe money is energy. Just like we are energy, I do believe money is energy. And I do believe you can use your intuition and your thought patterns, right? How you created Easy Daisies. That was a thought that came in. You could have completely dismissed that thought. You could have. Or someone said, you could sell that. And you're like, nah, this is just for my kids. You wouldn't be where you are. And so when we got right with our money and built a relationship with our money and built it from there and took care of it and nurtured it, things just started happening.
That's awesome.
And so even this past week, I started running the numbers again, and we've hit into the $2 million net worth. and we're continuing to grow. Our kids' schooling is all paid for. I still
Wonderful.
have what I call a home investment loan because the word mortgage means death grip. So
No
we
way.
don't use that word. We don't use it
Okay.
because I believe words have energy, right? And so we call it a home investment loan. This is an investment we're sitting in,
Yes,
and that's what our payment's going to. So for us, it was changing our mindset around money, building the relationship, and even changing the words that we use.
so smart.
And it's growing from there. You know what the best part too, Elaine, is we've brought our kids along for the ride.
I was going to say that the best part is that your kids are watching and learning and living it,
Yeah.
right? And it's not something passive. It's not something you hide as
No.
an adult conversation. It
No.
is, hey kids, this is how we are doing this, and you should be doing this with us.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. I love it.
Well,
I
and
love
even
it.
our 16-year-old, he's already got an investment. Like he got some money and he created an investment. It's a joint investment with my husband and I because he's not legally allowed to invest on his
That's
own.
right.
But he's already got 7,000. He's 16 and he's got over $7,000 sitting in a high interest investment portfolio.
Beautiful.
Because I said, what are you going to do with it? Take a little to play with, put most of it away. And so that's William. He's 16. He's the entrepreneur of the kids. This kid can sell anything with value. It's unbelievable how many times I've seen him at the door selling stuff. And it's like, even last summer, he wanted to do something with bicycles. And so he started buying and selling bikes to the point where our local mall found him on Facebook and said, we have all these bikes that have been abandoned. The police don't want them. They've told us to throw them out. Come and grab whatever you want.
No.
Yeah. And William grabbed whatever he wanted. He just has to call them and say, I'm coming over. They open the door, let him take whatever he wants. And last year he made over $3,000 in the summer.
Wow. Good
Just
on him.
like,
Good
and so
on
that's
him.
where the money comes from. Right. And
That is
so,
awesome.
and I know we're going to touch on kids and money, but we don't keep anything from our family.
No.
We don't keep anything from our kids. We've told them, they know the story, they understand. And even like, Mom, I remember we used to eat spaghetti 4 times a week. I'm like, yeah, because I couldn't afford anything else. Like even now we're buying, like we have steak 2 or 3 times a week now. And if you know big teenage boys and their meat, right? And they're like, this is so different. We haven't had spaghetti in so long. I'm like, because when we were broke, there's a difference between being poor and being broke. When we were broke, we ate a lot of spaghetti. And so it's interesting to hear them because even their stories right now, William is like, how do I become financially free?
Wow.
And he uses the word millionaire by the time I'm 30. So he's come to us and said, what do I do? And so we've built a plan. Right. And our oldest, who just graduated high school and was going to a Western University and then on to chiropractic college in Toronto, he's like, I want to pick, what did he say? He wanted a profession. And he's like, I want to pick something that will take care of me and my family for as long as I work it. There will be a massive asset that someone could purchase at the end where I'm helping others heal.
Beautiful.
And I'm not working 24/7. And he jumped into Chiro. So trust me when I say, I know we're getting off the kids thing, but trust me when I say, when you really allow your kids into your relationship with money and you help them to understand where you're at,
absolutely,
it's easier for them to go, I don't want that. Right. I don't want that part of my life, or how do I get better than that? Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but I know from my family, and people I know that are my age, our parents never talked about money.
Nope. I think it's the same. And I mean, I know that my parents made me understand and appreciate a dollar for sure. Yeah. And I worked every summer, and I worked for my dad, even at a car dealership I would work. And I remember I worked like every day for like the whole entire summer trying to make money, and I never got a paycheck at the end. And I thought, wow, what? And I was working for my dad, and he said, oh no, he goes, your entire paycheck went to pay for your Young Drivers of Canada program. I'm like, Oh, I had no idea I was doing that. I had no idea I was paying for it, but that's okay. And it showed me, wow, I worked like every day except for Sunday in the summer, and I never saw a dime. But it went towards something I was supposed to do and had to
Yeah.
do. And it made me value that. Like it was, so I fully understand working for something.
Yeah.
And, like even now with our kids, they understand like we have like three S's when you get money. It's like, you save some, you spend some, and you share some. And so that they understand that, you're not going to get $100 and then you're going to buy $100 t-shirt for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
but that ad dollar, whether it's 100 or ad dollar, has to have some longevity.
Yeah.
And you have to appreciate it and have that. I love that you said, like, have a relationship with it. So smart.
Definitely.
I love it. I love that.
And Elaine, the piece too is, and what I have found, because we do have multiple six figures in the bank accounts now, it's just the way it flows now, right? And I know it's going to continue growing, but the reason why is because now when we get money, we're like, okay, that thing I wanted, I kind of like seeing the money in my account better. I kind of like seeing it make money. I'd maybe, instead of buying this, let's put that money into your, tax-free savings account or an RSP or a 401 or just you get to the point where you appreciate so much more when you have it that you're very selective on what you purchase, which I find very interesting as well.
So Lou, like a lot of people may not know all those terms, like even a tax-free savings account. So do you think that these are things people can learn on their own, or do you think that everybody needs to have a financial advisor or planner? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think if you're just starting out, Google is everybody's best friend. You can put in even if you write, how do I invest my money in whatever state, province, country, whatever you're in, it will give you ideas. When you're first starting out and you don't have, I would say if you had like under $5,000 or $10,000, talk to your bank. Talk to your bank and say, I have some money or I want to create a plan. And they have pretty simple accounts and programs that you can go in. I know for us personally, we do have a financial advisor who started out as an amazing friend of mine. And I was telling her the story we had with the kids' RESPs, which is up in Canada, our education savings plan. And she was like, you need to move it. Like where you're at, this is what's going to happen. And I didn't realize the plan I selected 15 years before. It was just a completely different, it was a pool plan. Like your money goes in a pool, how many kids graduate, everybody divides it out. Like it wasn't like you got all your own money. It was really weird. And she was like, you need to move this into an investment portfolio. You need to do this, you need to do that. And so 3 years ago, we gave it to her and it's grown almost 100% since she's taken it over. Wow. So it's really good to eventually find a financial planner or a financial advisor who can fully understand what your dreams are and what your financial situation is now. So even when all this real estate was going crazy, I went to her right away and said, like, what are my options? I have all this equity in my house. I have this cash over here, this cash over here. What should we do? And it was just nice to talk to somebody who had the experience and the knowledge that we may not have. So that's where I would start. If it's small or you're just starting a plan, definitely talk to the bank. If you have larger money to put away, like larger sums, or you want to transfer it, or you want to see if what you're already doing is good enough, because that happened. We referred one of our friends to the same financial advisor, and she was said to my friend, she said, you made $60. Like she had a huge amount. You made $60 this year. And it was because the financial advisor had no interest in growing this friend's portfolio. And now that she's moved over to mine, they're seeing significant growth. So you got to find the person that fits you. But if you're like, I have $100 a month to start, go to the bank and ask them how you can do that.
That's awesome. Great advice. And definitely when it's word of mouth, referrals, that's always
So much
great.
better.
Because,
Yeah,
when trusting people with your child, the money,
that's right.
you really want to make sure it's in good hands. And
Yeah.
I want to jump into you are so knowledgeable, Miss Lou. And so I know that many of my listeners are small business owners. And so
Ooh.
what would you say are your top 5 tips and strategies for knowing and growing your money as a small business owner?
Well, interesting enough, I'll just do a little bit of feedback, or not feedback, but I'm just going to go back 2 seconds here and say, I mentioned that when we were $3 from bankruptcy, we were bookkeepers and we were both working from home partners. We have now since grown that firm even larger. So we've been doing this for 24 years, to the point where, like, my tagline has always been know your numbers so you can grow your numbers. And I think it's really important because most business owners never look at their financial statements. Most don't even do their bookkeeping until the government's knocking at the door saying you need to file a return of some sort, right? And so I bring that up because what we did within our firm is we found the holes where people needed the help. So there is a bookkeeper who inputs it's historical data. We are not doing future telling, but what it is, it's historical data. What's happened in your business up until this day. Then that produces a financial statement that you're supposed to look at. And then you go to an accountant and file your taxes. There is a huge piece in the middle that's missing. And that's where large corporations have CFOs or chief financial officers. And so I remember saying to my husband, like, people are coming to me and asking me all these different things. And like, shouldn't they be going to the accountant? So I started talking to a couple of accountants. They're like, that's not us. Like, we don't do that. And so I found a hole that I could serve. And that's a strong place in where our business is right now. So I always get these things like, what can you tell me? 5 things right now, right? So just to kind of give some feedback on where we're at, because it's not like I stopped being a bookkeeper. I've been doing this since I was 17. Now your audience can do the math. If they caught those 2 numbers, they'll know how old I am.
Because I can see this beautiful lady. When you look at her, she looks like she's like 20. So
bless your heart.
The math doesn't
bless
work.
Your heart, your face, and everything else. Okay. So for me, my top 5 tips for knowing or growing your money as a small business owner. Number 1 is educate yourself. Because here's the piece. Most people who have a negative relationship with money, okay? Negative means you don't like looking at your bank account. You're afraid to open an invoice. The envelope from the government shows up in your mailbox and you get like, oh my gosh, I can't open this. I feel sick. I feel nauseous, right? Or your credit card bill comes and you're like, I can't open it. That's a really toxic relationship with your money. And if that was a human being, you wouldn't have that relationship. We can't remove our relationship with money, but we have to choose to make it better. So when I say think of your relationship with money as a child, that gives you more control in the relationship. Because as your child is little, you're responsible for it, right? So it gives the person with the money a sense of control. So when you educate yourself on what needs to be done as a business owner, how do I operate my money properly? How much should I be taking as an owner? How much should I be leaving for profit, paying taxes? When you can get all those questions answered, then your fear and anxiety around your business, your money, your personal money will go away, because people are in fear because of lack of knowledge.
Absolutely.
So if you say knowledge yourself, but if you educate yourself, I just make up words.
I make up words too.
Okay, good. But if you educate yourself, then you remove that fear.
I love it. So
educate, that would be my first one. Then the second thing I would definitely say, and these are in no particular order. Okay. So it's not like do this, then do this. This is just 5 in general. The second thing I would do is pay close attention to your cash flow, to your money, because not every dollar coming into your business every dollar that comes in your business should not be going into your pocket, but it also should not be going into an expense. Like we have a process that I have worked through that's a strategy with our CFO clients that you bring $1 in, so much goes here, so much go, like we put it into pots, right? Or into bank accounts, because the easiest way to lose your grasp on money is to spend every penny you get.
Absolutely. Brilliant.
So educate yourself and then pay attention to your money, like to your cash flow. Where is it going? What are you buying? And then number 3, you need a budget. People don't like that. Even I'm saying it, I always close my eyes when I say the word because I don't like the word. It feels constrictive. It feels like something's controlling me and my spending. But a budget only works with the energy you give it. So if you're excited about your budget, knowing you can move things around, like if you want to pay for coaching this month, but don't have the full amount, then maybe we'll take something out of advertising or meals, right? Or office supplies. Like you can move the money around, but having a budget is what's going to control your cash flow.
Absolutely.
And if you relate that back to a child, would you just let your child run out in the street? Would you just let them eat whatever they want? No, you'd have a boundary. You would have guidelines.
I know. It's so funny. Like when you're talking about budget, I'm like picturing like a daily visual schedule, right? Like it's your time in chunks as your money is, because you're only given 24 hours. And let's say if you get $5,000 a month, you need to know where it goes and how it's being used. Brilliant.
And understanding your money flow. Well, we call it cash flow, but and I also call it your money flow. When you get to the end of the month, and a lot of business owners are like this right now, there's more month than money, meaning we run out of money just before the month ends. Then there's resentment in your business because you worked all those days and you have nothing to show for it because of your habits that you've created. So if you want your business to grow, you have to remove the resentment of working for nothing. And the way you do that is to watch your cash flow through budgets. So that's number 3.
Love it.
1, 2. Okay. Number 4, I would highly, highly recommend you hire someone, whether it's a bookkeeper or the accountant at the end of the year. It's important to have someone on your team that actually knows the process, has the knowledge. So even my clients, they'll call, can I call you? I'm like, sure. They're like, okay, so I have this and and what do I do with this? And and like, it's a phone call, right? They're paying me retainers so they can call me and ask questions. Sometimes that's a lot more cost effective than sitting there for 4 hours Googling something, even though I said Google, how do I, but in general,
for sure.
Right? It's like, okay, well, I spent 4 hours researching that. Well, what is your time per hour?
Yes. And you know, that is a very great point, Lou, because often as the entrepreneur, as you know, because you've heard these stories over and over, because you and I have been surrounded by incredible entrepreneurs for like a decade, and we think we have to wear all the hats, right?
Yeah.
But we are definitely not experts at everything. And especially when it comes to the finances. It's beautiful that you have a money background and like bookkeeping background, but many, like I was a school teacher and never did I ever get pulled aside to learn how to be a manufacturer, a distributor, a sales rep, a bookkeeper, an accountant, none of the above. But to say, please, I am going to invest money, because in order to make money, you do have to use it.
Yeah.
And hire someone who knows what they're talking about, like someone who understands what bookkeeping is, someone who understands cash flow, someone who gets it, so that they are on top of that and can be a part of your team, so that you can focus on what you are good at, right? So so valuable. Thank you.
It is. And when you're looking at a bookkeeper, make sure, I don't even at this point care what their college degrees are. I want to know how much experience you have. I want to know what your success rate is. How long have you had your current clients for? Because if I've had most of my clients for over 20 years, 15 to 20 years. So they're still here. So I'm doing something right. But a lot of people hire bookkeepers who don't really understand even bookkeeping, forget the budgets and the cash flows. Like, honestly, Elaine, I could have opened up a whole sector of my firm just fixing bookkeeping files, because people just, they say they know, but they don't know. And so on that point, this is the thing that I call him my accounting father. He was my accountant who helped me through all my co-ops. Bob was a great guy. He's still around. He's just retired, so I don't get to see him like I used to, but he used to say, remember one thing. And I'd say, what's that, Bob? When you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And I go, I'm sure my face looked like this too. Like, that makes no sense. And he goes, exactly. And he walked out of the room. And I was like, oh, okay. So I think the point is, it makes no sense to pay cheap rates because you're probably going to get poor service. So I would say, like, that's one you guys can take. You pay peanuts, you get monkeys. I still am like, that was 20 years ago. And I'm still like,
That's awesome. You have to remember that when you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
You get monkeys.
Like, unless you want monkeys.
Unless you want monkeys, but you don't. You don't. Not in your money. Okay. If you're going to invest anywhere, it's in your money, because most bookkeepers go, hey, here's your financial statements. Here's my bill. Let me know if you have any questions, because on our basic bookkeeping program, that's what we do. But on my other tiers, depending on what my clients need, like, I have a call tomorrow with a partnership that I'm their CFO. We're going through cash flows and budgets and projections and client analysis. Like, there's so many parts that not your average bookkeeper does. And that's what I was saying earlier. That's the whole, I'm like, I can fill this, right? See a need, fill a need. It's from the Robots movie. I don't know how I remember that, but I do. But it's like, I see a need and I need to fill it. And then the last one, number 5, I would fully say, and I touched on this a little bit in the beginning, use your intuition. You know, full body yes and full body no, right? Like, Elaine, if I said, okay, leave your house right now and go rob the bank, you'd be like, no, that's a full body no, right? And if I was like, Elaine, go out and cut your flowers or buy yourself some flowers, you deserve it, you'd be like, that feels right, right? That's a full body yes. So use your intuition when it comes to how you run your business and your numbers. I mentioned it for Roger and I, like, unless it's a full body yes, I'm not going in on it. Like, and sometimes your money mindset will prevent you from making a decision. It's taken me 3 years to agree to replace a window on our house. I don't know why. It's been a thing. It's being replaced. It didn't even cost that much money. I was stuck. I had a block there. Okay. But a lot of times in your business, yes, I need this, or that's not, I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah. Use your intuition to grow your finances, to grow your numbers. If you are going through Starbucks or any other coffee shop and you're spending $5 to $8 a day, not only is that not really good for your waistline, because I know I've gained 60 pounds off of those type of daily habits. But that's not serving you. Like, that's not serving you. It's not serving your company. It's not serving your business. Okay, fine. You get to write it off as a meal expense, but it would be doing so much more for you if you put that money away instead of drinking it. And so learning what the full body is, the full body yes and no, and just really using your intuition. Because
is that like your gut, like going with your gut? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's kind of like your gut feeling. Like when you started Easy Daisies and it was for the classroom, and then you were like, I think I might be onto something. Like, this might be something. That's your intuition or your gut telling you, you got to do this.
Yeah, it's a great reminder. Like, I've made wrong decisions going with, pulling on heartstrings rather than listen to my gut.
Yeah.
And, I know you've heard me share this one before. It was an expensive mistake that I made. I call it the $10,000 quick crash course on going with your gut. And it was, a distributor in France who wrote to me saying he'd love to distribute Easy Daisies. And, and I actually ignored the emails in the beginning because I wasn't ready to deal internationally and I don't know this person, but he wrote to me for like a year and a half. And then he's like, we've had communication now for a year and a half. I think we know each other. and I'd like to place this order. And I'm like, okay. And so, we went through the ropes, and it was a huge process to get things translated into international French, to get products safety tests for the CE logo, which is for Europe safety testings, and all these things. Many costs accrued. And then right when the order was going on the boat to Europe, he called and said, I have to cancel his order. And I said, pardon me. And he said, one of my company, other vendors that went bankrupt, and it affected us. However, if you did send this to a product, it would really help my family, is what he was saying. And so in the year and a half, he showed me pictures of his 4-year-old son, and, I sent Purdy's chocolate to his son, and, like all this. And, he's like, Elaine, if you send it to me and give me net terms, at least then I can survive for my family and this and that. My gut was saying, don't do it. Don't do it. But I did. And it's been, I don't know, 5 years, and I've never gotten paid. And I mean, I didn't just let it go. Like for 2 years, I chased and I tried. And a lawyer advised me that it's never good to use good money for bad. And even if I did win a legal suit, it doesn't guarantee that I get paid anyways. So I didn't pursue that. But it was a huge lesson to go with your gut.
Go with your gut. And it's true, because you're an entrepreneur on purpose. Like this is part of your purpose on this earth. So you have to be able to trust the thoughts that you're having, the feelings that you're having. Mm-hmm. And like, to the point, Elaine, I'll tell you this, this happened this week. Like this happened the last 2 days, where like I have a couple clients, and I've always told my clients, look, pay me as you can. Because of the situation with the pandemic and stuff, I'm getting the work done because the government needs the returns, but pay me when you can. And I know some of my clients are like, don't want to open the invoice, even though it's the same amount every month. There's no surprise, because I hate surprises when it comes to money. So I don't do that to my clients. But I do have clients who get nervous about opening the invoice, and they'll wait. And then I'll be like, hey, just checking to make sure you still have that invoice, because it's been 3 weeks, right? And they're like, yes, I promise I'll get to, I'll promise. I'm never worried about getting paid. But I've been working on my money mindset and my relationship with money even more in the last 2 weeks, just because I know I can be better with what I'm doing. You're never going to be perfect, but just keep growing and keep evolving, right? Keep coming out of I feel like I've built in a cocoon and I'm coming out again, as you mentioned earlier. And it was interesting because I sent out all these invoices on Monday morning. And in that were people who forget to pay or are nervous to pay or whatever, right? Cash flow things. And they've all paid. I woke up this morning and like I had invoices. Oh, one hasn't. I should say one, but I think they're on vacation. But I even woke up and I said to my husband, I go, they're all paid. And he's like, really? I'm like, that's weird, because that never happens. Like never happens. And so I thought about like, what's changed? The energy that I'm putting out to my money, to my clients, to my services has changed because there's no anxiety with it anymore. There's no fear. Like, what if people don't pay? What if they don't, what if they, all those what if things, like I'm going to put this invoice out. What if they get mad? I used to have that. I have one client, and just in the last month, I was like, you know what? No, this is my bill. Because she just someone who likes to like, well, what about this? And like, they're just a little picky, right? But because I've changed my energy and I've upped my game and my money mindset and understanding my intuition, like it's coming, you reap what you sow. So whatever you're putting out is coming back. So that's what I mean about using your intuition as well. Like every time I send an invoice, I'm like, love and light, bless these people. Love and light. Like that's how I literally send out my invoices now.
I love it. It is true. So so reap what you sow, and not be afraid to send a bill, because your services, your products are absolutely valuable. And, and that's like probably another tip 101 there is, to make sure that your pricing is right? Like not undervalue and do like, I go through this fear too. Like every year I'm like, because mine is like a domino effect, right? Because I rely on magnets, right? Resources that they go up in cost, which means the manufacturing costs have increased, which means I need to change prices too. And it's a tricky, like it is, like I'm honest, and I will say that it makes me sick and nauseous to, like I absolutely was one of those people who, when I first started, it's like, oh, I didn't make Easy Daisies to make money. It was to help families. And yes, it does help families, but come on, right? Like I can't make it for free though. So it is, it's a very tricky thing. And I am still very honored, so honored when people buy Easy Daisies, when a store orders, like I'm just blown away. And it's been like 10 years and I'm still blown away, really honored. And I know that and Kim O'Leary had a book about money. I have it somewhere, but he pokes fun at me in that book because it talks about how I value relationships in business. And in the beginning, I would only be selling to local retailers, and I would hand deliver the order with like freshly baked cookies.
I'm gonna say that's coming out of Elaine's mouth. It's gonna be cookies. Absolutely.
And and my retailers are still with me, and they still bring those stories up. But it is just being grateful, right? And having that gratitude, and still knowing that you still deserve to be paid.
Yeah.
And you can't give it away for free.
And and when you do send out your invoice, it's a self-confidence thing, really, in the end. But when you send that invoice out, here's the other thing. If you have an agreed upon amount, whether it's a product or a service, and you have something contractually, even if it's in an email, you can't be scared to send the bill because they already know it's coming, right? And that's one thing too. Like I charge what I'm worth, and I know I am not right for everybody. Mm-hmm. I know that because depending on what you need, and that's absolutely okay too. And it's something you do work on, but as you build your confidence, send those invoices out with love and light. And even if you're like, one of the things I did is I had one client, she hates to open invoices. So I'd actually write, hey, your invoice is attached. It's in the amount of, so she wouldn't be like, pushing that button. So, but it was just the energy you put out. Definitely use your intuition.
I love that you know your clients. And when I mean know them, I mean, their energy towards money.
Well, that's my job. Like that's in a way, that's my job. Right. And for me, it's always been
a money doctor.
Yeah, I'm a money doctor. And in the way too, like this is a whole other conversation, but it's about giving your customer an experience, not a service. Mm-hmm. So if I understand where they're coming from, and I understand their heartstrings, I understand what sets them off. Like I have a couple clients, I will not email them on Fridays. Mm-hmm. They don't want news before the weekend.
Yes. Yeah. Good on you for knowing that.
Yeah. It's about giving your customer an experience. And when you can do that, you're worth more than you'll ever know.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't imagine how many referrals you get, because what do people talk about is how, and what is what they remember. And what they remember is how somebody made them feel. So good on you. And that's how like multi-million-dollar companies survive. And it's because they create that experience. And so great tips. And, there's so much. I'm going to say that this is probably going to split into 2 podcasts because there's so much value that is being offered here, Lou. So thank you. Lou has shared so many great tips and strategies with us on how to know and grow your money as a small business owner. Now, we want to keep this episode short and sweet, so we're going to end it here, but you do not want to miss part 2, where Lou shares 3 must-knows for tax write-offs. And you also want to catch the story on how she and her husband, Roger, use piggy banks as a word of advice to share with parents how to teach your kids how to be millionaires. So I will see you on part 2. See you then. Bye for now.